Hey friends, how you doing? This is Charles here with a second look where I go back and reread and review and possibly even re-review a book that I've done previously. And today's topic is going to be a little bit different. I have said in many videos that if I cover something, it's going to be something that I like. I will not be critical or negative. And I really wanted to talk about this book, but I did not like what the book was doing overall and what it led to in the context of the bigger picture with this character. And so we're going to get into it. 2023's The Punisher War Journal base. I want to talk about what I like about this book. The art is enthralling. It draws you into the story and it tells, the story at a good pace, and it, really wants to make sure you understand what's going on before giving you new information. This is the time when Frank Castle was on leave and he's in a therapy session with his wife. And the overarching problem is him being home, but not really being home. Um, his home is really the battlefield, and it is in combat, and it's what he's comfortable with. And outside of that, he doesn't know how to function, and he's very withdrawn. And it paints a good picture of that struggle and the mental anguish that he was going through with the art, with the juxtaposition of a happy time of year, Halloween. Everybody's in costumes, but he was so in his head that he didn't get a costume, so he just went and pulled out a hoodie and a balaclava, and he's like, "Oh, I'm an assassin," just trying to, yeah, showing that he's there, but he's not really there. And really, the big relationship he has in this story is with his dog. And I think it's because he doesn't have to explain, what he's going through, why he was emotionally closed off. It's one relationship where he's not asked to get out of his own head. And while they're out trick or treating, he hears something that sounds familiar. And it's a scream. And his wife is like, "Oh, you're just overthinking it. You're expecting conflict." But he couldn't get that out of his head. And later, when he went home under the guise of taking the dog for a walk, he had to investigate. And yes, it was screams of a family being taken hostage by, mobsters and tortured. And I don't want to give away too much because, like I said, it's a great book to read. The writing, the art, but what I didn't like is how they, with this whole series and the big controversy with the 2023 Punisher run and everything they're doing in 2023, it was to, in my opinion, a character assassination of Frank Castle. Um, while these books are well written, they show that, from my understanding, and maybe it's because I'm a new comic reader, I didn't start until about 5 years ago. But in my understanding of the Punisher character, he was, a soldier that found his safe space around his wife and his family. And that at the source of all of his rage, what he directed his skill to was getting vengeance on the people that took that away from him. But in not only the 2023 Punisher series, but the War Journal series of one-shot books, they paint the picture of a man who has always been psychotic, a man who has always been, dismissive of family and loved ones, a man who was just, who never wanted that family connection, who did it begrudgingly. And you get to the end of that 2023 Punisher run, he essentially banishes himself to another dimension. He's just gone. And the Avengers washed their hands of him. And the last book in that series was essentially them ganging up on Frank and telling him how terrible a person he was. And the wife who was brought back to life and who was his whole driving purpose just lays into him and abandons him. And it felt like I said, they were just trying to rid themselves of the Frank Castle character and trying to turn opinion of him. And then when they started the new Punisher series, I don't even know the guy's name, but Garrison, who was a Shield member. And the thing I didn't like about that series is it's like, okay, you want to have a new Punisher, create a new backstory, a new history, something that's far away from Frank Castle. But really, the biggest difference I saw was Garrison had blonde hair. And, the violence was there. He lost his family. I mean, it was so similar. And it's like they wanted Frank Castle, but without Frank Castle. But irregardless of my personal distaste for how they wrapped this up, it's still a quality book. It's still a book that I go back to multiple times. And I enjoy reading and I get something out of it. The storytelling is there, the action is there, and they cover a lot of good things. They tried. I think they wanted to make an effort to have the audience turn on Frank, but still kind of, entertain us as well. But they did the second part. It's definitely entertaining, and it gives an insight to this version of the character. And I'm hoping that, maybe we can get Frank Castle back. He's in a different dimension. He's not dead. So, even dead characters come back to life in the Marvel Universe. And they did recently. They're currently doing the Get Fury short run, which is a team up between Nick Fury and the Punisher set in Vietnam. And so, that may be a sign that they're reversing the course on Frank Castle, the guy that I buy my comic books from. He is such a fan that he goes by Frank Castle online. And he had a lot of the same things, a lot of the same issues with it as I did. But, it's like the way I approach media is everything is not written solely for me. And so, despite my personal dislike of certain elements, it is a lot more positive than negative. I've read it again, and I'm going to read it more down the road. So I highly suggest you get it, but know what you're getting into and know what to expect from this series if you can find it. And right now, if you can find it on Previews World, you can go get your account set up and have it sent to my friends over at Coffee and a Comic, where they will set up an online pull box for you. And when you use code OLDNERDWY, you can get 15% off of your comic book purchases. And he has a wide selection of back issues where you can catch up with Frank and his exploits there. So check out Coffee and a Comic, and I'll see you guys next time. Until then, keep reading them books. I am out.